Alrighty then, everybody, it is about that time. Good morning to my folks here on the West Coast. Good afternoon to my folks on the East Coast. My name is Alex Lepore. I'm the Sales Director here at Fortress Power for the Western region. We have a great webinar presentation planned for us all today. Today we're going to talk about the Avalon, particularly included with our energy services platform. So the crux of this conversation today is going to be how you can sell more batteries, more projects with higher attachment rates because of these particular programs, and how the Avalon can help get you there and build a more durable business in the face of adversity like we've seen in this past year. NEM3 really having an impact to all of our Fortress Power dealers. So we want to step in and help you add more value to your clients, help you build a more durable business, as we're expecting a lot of these trends from California like NEM 3.0 to transition across the rest of the United States if they're not already doing so. So a couple key notes. Webinar is going to be probably around 40 to 45 minutes. This is going to be recorded. So although I appreciate the note taking, you can certainly wait until you get the recording of this after the fact if you're not able to join or want to watch it again. And then last but not least, we are going to have the slides sent out as well. So you have all the resources that you need moving forward regarding this presentation here today. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll start. Okay, let me do this. We're going to start the slideshow. So again, this is the Fortress Power Sales Training Webinar with Energy Services. We're presenting on hashtag the Avalon Answer by yours truly. Again, my name is Alex Lepore. I'm the Sales Director here at Fortress Power. If you're not familiar with who Fortress Power is, we are a manufacturer of the highest quality turnkey energy solutions at the automotive standard for not only residential but also commercial applications. Our sizes range anywhere from 5 kilowatt hours, more residential application based, to a staggering 4.2 megawatt hours. You may be wondering, what does automotive quality mean? Automotive quality is the highest quality standard in the lithium manufacturing realm. There's 3 levels. There's automotive, telecommunications, and then energy storage. Automotive is by far the best quality in terms of what you can expect in terms of life cycles and build quality. And at that same token, it's certainly not the cheapest quality, and that's what you'll find at Fortress. We aim to be a very high quality solution that is still very, very affordable. So we provide full-blown ecosystems that you'll see here today. We're based on all coasts. I'm located here just outside of Los Angeles. We have a office in Puerto Rico, and we also have another office back at our headquarters in Langhorne. We have technical support all throughout the country. Customer service and servicing our dealers is one of the biggest values we have here at Fortress. So if you want to see the different feedback we've gotten, check out our Google reviews. You'll see that we are very, very, very big on customer service. Since our inception in 2016, we've done over 30,000 installs, not only here in the continental US, but also in international markets like Canada, the Caribbean, South America, Europe, the Middle East, and even Africa. So you can be really comfortable knowing you're teaming up with a qualified and reputable battery partner with a lot of experience in their belt to help you with building this durable business we're going to speak of. In that same vein, we are a key lithium battery supplier for several government and utility entities. You probably have heard of the Navajo Tribal Nation, the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority, otherwise known as SEPTA, the Puerto Rico Housing Authority, and many, many more. So again, partnering up with Fortress, becoming a dealer with our products, you feel really comfortable knowing that we are not a new player in this game. We have a lot of experience. The problem that we've seen recently, and I'll start with California, is that these net metering changes are here. Last April 14th, California changed their billing structure, or their rate structure, from NEM 2 to NEM 3. NEM 3 essentially is decreasing the export rates, let's say your solar to your grid, by 75%. So these solar only payback periods are increasing significantly, right? What used to be maybe an 8 or 10-year payback with solar only is now getting pushed to like a 12, 15-year payback, right? So solar only systems are not going to have the same return on investment that they used to, which is decreasing the appetite for our end users out there to get a solar only system. That was last year, right? Moving into this year, you're going to see this shift of solar that's going to be paired with energy storage for many reasons, right? with batteries, there's many ways you can use the batteries. You can use it for demand charge management, offsetting time of use rates, moving off the grid, backing up your facility. So although there is a projected 13% decrease in solar installations nationwide, 42% in California, there's a 150% increase in storage installations nationwide and a 300% increase in California. So it really goes to show that all those solar and the payback for solar, we're finishing essentially the technological loop with energy storage because of the value that it's going to bring. And then these, what I'll call smart storage assets, are going to create more value to help boost or bolster solar, where solar is now kind of taking that backseat in terms of customer perception, payback, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for those of you that know, solar without a battery doesn't power itself when the grid goes off, and that is certainly still a use case, right? So you can use it for payback and resilience, and I'll talk more about that shifting mindset of what customers want and then what we can provide with today's technology. Speaking to that solution of this problem, Fortress Power is going to offer these smart systems that pay you money through what I'll call the EnergyBroker platform. So EnergyBroker is a solution to maximize the value of your solar and storage assets. And it's basically where the customer signs up for this program. They're then going to get a check directly from Fortress Power when, let's say an example in California, they sell back their excess power to the CAISO wholesale market. This is an upfront payment based on the expected revenue. And in addition to that payment they're going to receive from Fortress for selling back to the wholesale market, it's going to basically optimize that schedule to maximize their utility bill savings or even those time of use savings, right? Particularly in California, I see EnergyBroker being very popular because not only can they leverage the wholesale market prices, which are very, very high, especially during peak periods, but in months like September, when the time of use charges are extremely high, they're able to actually use and sell back and offset those time of use charges, right? If you're in San Diego and you're paying 65 cents a kW during, from 4 to 8 or 5 to 9, the battery smart software is going to be able to go through, see that time, and then discharge the battery to your loads as a cost avoiding strategy to help folks even save more money. We'll call this NEM3 optimization with TOU. Fortress Power unlocks this potential and offers this full service for our systems, from the enrollment of it, which can be done through our website, the operation, the monitoring, and the reporting, all done through the Fortress Power software and app that you will receive as an installer, and certainly the end user will receive as well. I spoke a little about EnergyBroker, right? EnergyBroker is the California payment where you sell back to the CAISO wholesale market to achieve that really aggressive ROI. There are other programs out there in the US that we're tied in with, and you can see on the bottom of my screen the www.fortresspower.com/EnergyBroker. You'll be able to see a lot of the other programs that have similar arrangements, whether it's the WattSmart program for my Rocky Mountain Power based installers here, or the Connected Solutions program in the Northeast, or if you want to look at the battery bonus program in Hawaii. There are many programs that we're a part of that, again, can help you add more value to your customers. EnergyBroker is adapting to this new energy services landscape. So it's going to generate that most value available for those customers. And although I talked about this on the other slide, again, the utility programs and services are focused, but these algorithms and scheduling are going to decrease costs while increasing the revenue based on that particular situation your customer is in. These products that we'll speak to, the Avalon particularly, are optimized to offer grid services, and they go beyond just your typical time of use battery. So we can install larger systems, inverters and batteries, that are going to equal more opportunities for revenue because of these different schedules. So very easy for you, simplicity for your customers as well, and that they enroll once via the website. Fortress handles the rest of that. The only thing you would need to do, and we'll talk about some of the value positioning, is sell them this system, right? Show them some of the facts here that I'm going to present and talk to them about, hey, how is this system going to help you not only achieve your, let's say, your financial goals, but you now have a system that's going to provide resiliency in a world where the grid is certainly, feeling a little shaky. Outages are becoming more and more prevalent with the impacts of climate change. We could have a whole webinar on climate change and resiliency in the face of that. Nonetheless, I'll defer. Here we have a quick graph I wanted to show you guys about how what can be expected through, let's say, California EnergyBroker, which is achieving payback similar to a NEM2 parity, right? So first and foremost, you have their baseline load on the bar graph on the left. With solar only now, you're only looking at around a 40% reduction in their costs and their annual energy costs. In a time of use only battery, right, when they're charging during those peak times in California, it's around the 78% reduction in their annual energy bill costs. But further, looking at the far right, 88% reduction with the Fortress battery. Again, this is leaning into EnergyBroker value and NEM3 optimization. This is a very powerful slide to show your customers, right? When you have that dinner table conversation, you can say, well, investing in this Fortress Power equipment is going to give you almost 88% reducing your annual bill cost, which is actually technically better than investing in solar only during NEM2, which was 2023 or pre-2023, and so on and so forth. So there's two levels to this, and I just want to make it really clear. There's NEM3 optimization savings, which can range from $1,000 to $1,300 annually, right? And then there's EnergyBroker value, which can range anywhere from $225 to $350 annually. And it is really good to note that the value of these programs is only going to increase as utilities offer more rate hikes, or they maybe not offer, they install new rate hikes, right? Or they make these different programs because they have their own utility and statewide carbon neutral goals. They're going to make these programs a lot more beneficial, right? So this is just the start of the bigger picture of where our industry is headed, and how people use power, how people communicate with the grid via their power is going to develop. It's a very interesting concept. The Department of Energy is publishing statistics on VPPs and the application of VPPs for utility, commercial, and residential, and some of the graphs are completely crazy with how much this growth is going to basically change the whole energy landscape in the United States. Very, very interesting stuff. We've seen a lot of the paybacks, as you'll see here, and I wanted to put it in a little easier to read, in that the expected payback for an Avalon system, we'll call Fortress battery, is less than 5 years when they lean into these programs along with that NEM3 optimization. Sure, you could use a time of use only battery, but again, it's not going to be the quickest payback mechanism, and it is certainly a lot more aggressive than just doing solar only. So if you guys pull one thing from this presentation here today, I hope it's that you start installing batteries, because it's going to give you more teeth in the quote unquote fight for speaking with your clients about, hey, I'm going to give you a payback system that offers resiliency, and Fortress is going to help us do that collectively. Throughout last year, this is not a new program, so we released this in 2023. Some of the interesting data that we gleaned is that the installers that sold with grid services or energy services enabled batteries sold a lot more systems and attached more batteries to their projects, right? Over a 3 times attachment rate versus installers that did no sorts of grid services enabled batteries. So you'll see here their attachment rates are around 13 to 15%. This is a national view. In California, it's probably more in like the 80 to 90% attachment rate. And the amount of batteries that they installed overall, and this is per ohm analytics, is up 70 to 80%, right? So for my salespeople on this call here, business development owners, installing more batteries obviously means increasing your top line, right? It means bringing in more revenue, which can offset your expenses, which improves your bottom line, right? We got in this business to sell expensive stuff, I always say, but nonetheless, it really goes to show that when you install with grid services, it's going to help you build a durable business in the face of that adversity, like I mentioned earlier. Second line, if you're an installer that's just doing batteries, no grid services, you're probably seeing around nationally a 4 to 5%. In California, it's still pretty high, maybe around 60 to 70% because of the time of use rate structure. But the amount of batteries that they installed last year is down 15 to 33%, right? Those companies now are feeling a lot of pain because the amount of extra revenue they could have brought in by adding a battery to their customer solar system is essentially non-existent at this point. So really matters to you, and there's a big why behind why should I do batteries. Batteries are going to help you increase your top line, build a more durable business. We'll talk about some of the other marketing aspects of installing batteries and how you can leverage that later in the slide deck. But again, this is data we gleaned from Fortress Power with our current installer and dealer partners, and we had found some very shocking results, as you guys can see here. If you're not a dealer and want to become a dealer with us, head to our website, fill out a dealer application. One of my regional sales managers will be in touch with you to help you get you through the training that we provide, like our Avalon training, and also work with you on specific quotes or jobs and designs using EnergyBroker or not, and can help you train and can help train you guys on how you can sell energy services to your customers in your pipeline. Excuse me. You see this changing perspective. I spoke about this earlier. Batteries 5 years ago was a lot about resiliency in most markets, including California, because California had, I think, 150 outages or more just last year alone, right? So we go from this perspective of, lead acid batteries, very cheap lithium batteries, where it was just used for resiliency. We were all installing critical load panels, right? At that time, the solar was just paying itself off. The cost of power was lower than it is today. Interest rates certainly are not where they're at right now. You have a lot of these economic, but also technological impacts that fit what the market was 5 years, 10 years ago in that respect. 2024, the average customer is not only a lot more educated on batteries, right? Because of experiences, they've heard good stories, they've heard horror stories, but they want this to act more as a revenue generating asset rather than just having this sit as a backup solution, right? That is partially because solar PV, let's use California as an example, is not paying itself off, right? It may come with a 25-year warranty. We all know the customers that we work with. Heck, I don't even know what I'm eating for dinner tonight, let alone what kind of payback I can expect 10, 15, 20, 25 years later, right? So within that 10-year, from a psychological standpoint, people in general will see that more as a, hey, I can understand this, and investing in this now is going to help me save, let's say, over the next 5, over the next 10 years. It's a little bit more manageable for them as they think about their future and their investment. Rising costs of power. If you guys have all joined the Holly Jolly webinar that I host every December, I hope you guys did, talked about notable increases of rate hikes between different utilities, right? PG&E 17%. You have many different of the large utility firms, Duke Energy, SCE, SDG&E. Oregon had a couple rate hikes as well, ranging anywhere from 15 to 30% rate hikes year over year. So the cost of power generally is getting higher, but also you're seeing utilities start increasing their prices more frequently and more aggressively. I also spoke to higher interest rates in the Holly Jolly webinar. And nowadays you have this utility involvement, aka energy services, right? Contrary to belief, utilities do want to have manufacturers and partners alike installing for grid services. You may be thinking, well, why is that, Alex? Because it helps them reduce their cost, right? Helps them reduce their cost. When we install batteries in a distributed energy resource or distributed resources, and we sell back, let's say they do a program and they can pull the battery from their distributed resources from residential and commercial homes, it avoids the very high peaks or spikes that they would normally run their peaker plants for those different spikes, which is very costly to fulfill a large amount of demand and a fixed supply. They end up ramping up these peaker plants. It costs them a lot to do that. It increases our cost as well. They can shave the top of that curve like we would do in demand response programs. It's pretty much the same thing. They would shave the top of that curve, so it helps reduce their cost as well. Like anything, always follow where the money goes. And with utility companies, if they're able to reduce their costs because of distributed assets through programs like energy services, I think we can all agree that that is something that's in their best interest. And it's certainly in our best interest as, people that are living in this new energy landscape, this new energy world. So it's a different way you have to sell, right? We're now selling for ROI, and you have that dinner table conversation. You want to talk about a combination of these things. Fortress Power is a reputable company with a lot of experience. This system is going to pay itself off within 10 years. We're going to help you avoid rising costs of power in the future. You're also going to have this for resiliency. If the grid goes off or if a giant solar flare hits the earth, you're going to have power in the event of those different situations, right? We're checking off many of the customer pain boxes from cost, technology, application, utilization, so on and so forth. It's a very different sales strategy, very different mindset that we all have to think about, no matter where you're located, on how we view batteries and how you sell batteries. There's a very good resource I would recommend to folks. It's called desireusa.org. For those joining the webinar, again, I've recommended this resource before. It goes through not only all the statewide incentives for solar and solar batteries, but it'll give you updates on new policy. So if you're living in a state and you want to know what kind of policy might be coming, similar to like what California did, check out this different resource. It'll get you ahead of the curve, knowing what market you're operating in and how you need to adjust your business and your business model. So we saw this change. We're seeing it. I mentioned cost of power. You can see on the right-hand side, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the cost of power over the last, let's say it's 2024, but in those 2 years from 2020 to 2022, an increase in the price of 30 kilowatt hours of electricity, an increase in the price of gas. That's probably crazy now. An increase in the piped gas per therm from just those 2 years from 2020 to 2022. Looking at more up-to-date data, that's probably more incremental if not, but I wanted to show you guys the trend in just recent years of how the cost of power is getting higher. And this does not include those recent utility rate hikes. Furthermore, you have this idea of the changing customer need. The advent of the Intervent is making the average customer a lot more educated on this certain technology and how to use this technology. And right, customers want more return on investment because of things like rising interest rates and inflation. They want this to perform as something that's going to give them a payback rather than something that's going to sit and it's going to sit and wait sort of format. Now, for our luxury customers out there, the sit and wait might be totally fine. But for the average person, the class, the masses, they're going to want something that's going to give them some sort of return or some sort of benefit. I fall into that same bucket. If I were to invest in solar and storage, I would want to see some payback from that. We talked about the inflation and interest rates, and we did talk about technological advances, right? Lithium cells are more powerful than they've ever been. There are smart energy panels now that can do things like the Avalon smart energy panel, like load shedding, load mitigation. Customers can now go on their phone and wirelessly choose how they want to use power in their home, just like they do with security, how they can go on their phone and turn on or off their locks or lights or garage door in their home. The battery space, smart functionality, these sort of advances have been seen over the last 5 years. Talk about that with the Avalon smart energy panel in the next couple of slides, but that is why we're seeing a change from, let's say, 2019 resiliency to 2024 ROI and resiliency because of changing dynamics in these 4 bullet points on the left-hand side of my screen. Positioning and adding value is a big part of selling these particular systems. And what you want to do is take the aspect of differentiation, expanding your clientele, and streamlining your installation. We'll talk more about these details in a minute. Having that dinner table conversation can be very easy or very challenging depending on who you're talking with. So you have to always think about, do your research on who you're speaking with before, obviously. What kind of client is this? What is the layout of their home? Who are they as a person? And what you can do is, with Fortress Power, differentiate your business from competition with these very robust battery installs that pay themselves back. The Avalon technology that you're providing is flexible, meaning you can start small and build big. Don't lose customers, right? You can start with a small system now and expand that system at a later date. You could start with PV only now and get a battery later. Probably doesn't behoove them because of what I spoke about, but you can always start with the aspect of starting small, working bigger, just like how Rome was built. They started with 1 brick and then they did 1 million bricks. So not only differentiating yourself as a business, but as a technology, having that conversation at the dinner table helps customers understand, okay, this is a lot different than just your normal, Duracell battery that's going to just back up a couple of loads if the grid goes out. This is going to work for me, right? This is going to work for me to help me achieve the goals I've set place. Using these sort of services is going to help you expand clientele. We all know how powerful word of mouth referrals are, right? When you do a system for someone in a neighborhood, that person's going to show off and really lean into that system and talk with others about it. Especially if you can give them a payback within 10 years, right? Those word of mouth referrals are super, super powerful. I've worked with companies over the years that only do business off of word of mouth referrals because of the high quality work that they do with our high quality products. As a business, this is obviously going to help you reach more business, right? Expand the amount of closed projects that you get, right? We talked about how many in that previous slide, 80% more batteries done in 2023 when they used energy services. It's going to help you get a larger spread of customers that you're able to service and work with in a certain geographic area. If you're, let's say, a local player, a mid-sized player, certainly national players are going to be looking for programs like this as well to offer on a national stage. Talked about that capturing that growing market, right? Projected 150% increase in storage installations, 300% increase in California. If you're a California installer on this call right now and you're not doing batteries, you got to start doing batteries, whether it's Fortress or not. It's obviously going to be something that's going to help you stay alive, keep your business running. If you're not in California, you're going to see more, not only utility firms, but also more people asking about batteries because of the news of California and NEM 3.0. Get familiar with batteries, do your research, pick a qualified player to be your partner. A qualified player in my mind is one that has service, one that can provide you with designing and permitting services. Fortress lays into that. Other companies do really well in that too, like Enphase or Tesla, to give props to good companies that do good work. Last but not least, you have this idea of a streamlined installation. Online monitoring and programming through your Fortress Power app on your iOS or Android is going to allow for a supreme customer experience, and it's going to help you reduce your amount of truck rolls. Through the Fortress Power app, you can program and commission the Avalon system. The customer can get all of their monitoring on their phone or app. And in the event of a technical support issue, you can look right at the app and find out what's going on, which is going to help you reduce truck rolls. And we all know truck rolls are costly. You spend a couple hours on site, that's lost opportunity cost when you could be out either selling a system or installing a new system. So the slide lays into both the value for our installer partners, but also the value for our customers, right? Our end users that are investing in this new technology. The product itself is the Avalon. You've probably seen it at a recent trade show. We have a whole bunch of training that we've done on it recently. My colleague Gio, Michael Gibson, for those joining the call that know those folks, you've seen a lot about it. I wanted to go through with these services how the Avalon can fit and how it's going to make a lot of the aspects of your installation a lot easier and help you build that more durable business I talked about. So it's a full home solution. It's AC or DC coupled, so whether you want to take the strategy of building new jobs or retrofitting to existing jobs, that is certainly a possibility. The three boxes are going to be the battery, seen here, the inverter, and then the smart energy panel. Through the smart energy panel, I'll talk about this a little bit more. There's a generator and an EV plug-in as well, level 2. And there's a rapid shutdown transmitter built into the inverter itself. So if you're doing a new build and you want to do an AP Systems, Tigo, NEP, you're going to have the rapid shutdown transmitter already built into the inverter. You just got to have that physical box up on the roof. If you're AC coupling and they have micro inverters, you could AC couple into the micro inverter up there if you wanted module level monitoring and optimization. Most companies that are doing, like I believe Tigo, has a similar solution, and we have that transmitter already built in. That smart software is what's connecting this middle line right here, grid to VPP, is what's connecting this total asset to the grid for those energy services functions. The first part is the battery. The battery is 4.9 kilowatt hours per stack, and you can stack up to 6 for 29.4 kilowatt hours for a full stack of batteries, essentially. It is IP65, so it is outdoor rated as a sealed battery to protect against dust, water, and humidity. The biggest impact, or one of the biggest impacts of batteries, is temperature. So you want to be really careful when choosing batteries and installing them. You don't want them in direct rain or sun as a general rule of thumb, but you want to have an IP65 rating to protect against the elements. Fortunately, we went as far as to add in an active heating element, a fire suppression element, and a heat sink on this battery for temperature management for outdoor installs. For my California folks, we all know batteries getting pushed outside because of new NEC code, new fire code. For folks coming out of other states, outdoor batteries may just be more convenient because of the site layout of the home. They may not have space in a laundry room or utility room to install this. Putting this outside on the adjacent side of your main service panel makes it a lot easier for install. You don't have to go in their house or get permission to. And at that same token, it may be a little bit more flexible, not only on a size in terms of stacking it up, but also just getting on the side and the amount of surface area that you'll need on that exterior wall. It is a 15-year warranty, 8,000 cycles. It is still LFP, but again, we're working in a higher voltage, hence the name high voltage battery. Because each one of these batteries is 48 volts, and we're wiring them up in series through this side panel. That is also where you're going to have the heating element connected. You have the BMS laying on top, which is where you're going to have a 60 amp breaker. And you're going to have the communication cables running from each battery, and then obviously the battery pack going to the inverter. That fire suppression is also built in, and because of its stackable nature, it's very easy for installation and logistics. I will say, like any solution, there are pros and cons. One of the cons of stackable batteries is if you have to get into that bottom battery, there is, perhaps some considerations of having to unstack all those batteries. To be fair, let's be fair here and let's be real. But stackable batteries make it very easy for installation and logistics. This is a two-man job, perhaps even a one-man job, if you're buff. But nonetheless, I would recommend two folks can install a system in a couple hours rather than needing a bunch of people and a forklift and all sorts of other equipment and time. This makes it a lot easier for your moving and logistics side, from getting it from the shop to getting it to your site location. The inverter is the second part of this, AC-DC coupled inverter, coming in two flavors, 7.6 and 11.4 kW. There are 4 MPPTs, maximum power point trackers. For my designers here on the call, you know what this means. Flexible designing on roofs for multiple strings depending on that roof layout or site layout. Because it's AC or DC coupled, you could have this, like I mentioned before, as a retrofitted or new install. Either or is fine. Some folks are targeting those particular segments. There's probably more retrofitted systems out there than new systems, but depends on where you're located. And I did mention the integrated rapid shutdown transmitter in here as well. So the only thing that you need is the actual physical box on the back of the battery. Last but not least is a smart energy panel. And because of some of the features like the 200 amp pass-through, AC combiner, load management, load control, this does a couple of things. First, it's going to remove the amount of extra boxes on the wall. Some of the other equipment out there, you have a bunch of boxes on the wall as extra equipment. This is going to have it save 3, maybe 4 main boxes on that exterior wall. It saves time, money, and space. Because of the load management, you give the power back to your customer to choose how they want to use the power, right? So we'll go through a demo of the app here. I believe it's on the next slide. But you're going to be able to basically show them, okay, what circuits do you want to hot splice from the main service panel or the existing critical load panel and put onto the 50 amp relays on the smart energy panel. There is no external emergency panel needed. Like I had mentioned, no transfer switch needed as it acts as that transfer switch, and then no AC combiner. You can AC couple or add an EV charger directly into the smart energy panel through the relays on the left-hand side. I'll show you a picture of it with the box open. So remove your cost, time, building stackable batteries, and then a couple other features we're going to have later into this year. Follow us, go on our newsletter, please. Follow us, check out our YouTube, and you'll see some of the other new features are coming, like Storm Watch, for example. or expanded systems, right? Multiple inverters and SCPs for larger homes, things that we'll keep you updated on. But for now, it's going to be one inverter, one battery, and a couple of batteries. More on that, please reach out to your RSM. In the actual SCP, couple of key notes. So the max AC amperage from a 11.4 kW inverter would be 47.5 amps. If we use the 120% of the 200 amp bus bar, we have a max total amperage gridded inverter of 247.5 amps. So whole home backup with a 200 amp service panel is no longer just a marketing ploy, right? It's a true 200 amp pass through. Now, one thing to note, time, how long can we back up that 200 amp pass through? You don't want to say, hey, I can do 200 amps for 10 hours. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can have very, very heavy loads on the smart energy panel. You can shed off the heavy loads and provide 200 amps of backup and more to the most important loads, or the loads that your customer deems are the most important, all done through the programming app. What breaker do you want to use for the grid? Up in the top right hand corner, you want to use a grid breaker rating that is less than 240 minus the output of the inverter used multiplied by the total quantity of those inverters used. So the smart energy panel is similar to other like smart energy products out there, but it's a little bit more cost effective. It's removing boxes on the wall. It has monitoring, and you can do load shedding with it. I think you guys can all see where I'm getting at with, we're making the residential home its own microgrid with this sort of solution. Here it is. So the ease of programming is very easy. You download the app. This is a fast presentation. You download the app. You're going to basically register the system. After they do the registration of the system, which is going to be pop up on your phone, it's going to show you the system that you're installing, inverter, battery, smart energy panel alike. And then we get into really the nitty-gritty details. So first, they have the different appliances that they input here with the name, and then the rated amps of that appliance, and then the phase, right? So they plug in that name, and then they're going to determine, as you'll see here, what to do with that appliance during certain situations. So off grid, this says smart energy panel controls this circuit automatically, right? When off grid. So as we go through this, you'll see you can set different thresholds of when to turn on and off that circuit based on the battery power. So this is saying turn off the battery, or turn off when the battery is below 45 and turn back on when the battery is above 78% through this slider here with the red, yellow, and green colors. And then you'll have some of these other things. So keeping the circuit connected when the grid goes off. So if they lose power, appliance one is a needed circuit when the grid goes off, they're going to keep it on. They did the same thing here. When on grid, see, the only thing that changed was on grid, and they have the slider. When on grid, turn off when the battery's below 42, same old, same old. And then the coolest is keeping the battery on, keeping the circuit on while we are on grid. And you can do that for many circuits, right? So here is appliance number 2 that we're putting in. So here in this example, it's just a single phase, right? Not a split phase, single phase circuit. I'm going to put appliance 2 here, and this appliance is maybe not needed. So he's put off grid, disconnect this circuit while off grid. They lose power, this circuit is not going to be powered. So we go through determining the criteria. You set up the parameters of those criteria, and then you plug and play the system. You commission the system, you get PTO, and then the customer can go back through here and make choices about how they want to use their power. I've included an interconnection diagram, because who doesn't love a good interconnection diagram? This sounds killing me. Who doesn't love a good interconnection diagram, right? In blue is where we have these relays. It's a 50 amp relay. From the left is where you're going to have the PV, the electric vehicle, the generator, and then you're going to have up to 6 double pole or 12 single pole circuits on these relays here. We have the Avalon 11.4 inverter on this side, and then we have that high voltage battery bank, right? Stackable up with the BMS laying on top, one connection from the BMS to the inverter. from the J-box of the PV going into the PV input of the 11.4 kW inverter and those 4 FPPTs. That is then running to the smart energy panel. On the smart energy panels, we're going to have the grid breaker here on the right-hand side, the relays, your communication ports, and then the also AC combiners as well. We have other diagrams like this we can share with an example, depending on what state you're in, California or others, depending on your code requirements. Looking briefly at the competition, you can see Fortress checks off a lot of different boxes that our competition is not able to. AC and DC coupling. I love the round trip efficiency, hence why it's gold, right? Because of the high round trip efficiency, we can actually size systems with less PV, which means less cost, which is less space on the roof, which means you're saving time. So really that round trip efficiency compared to other companies, SolarEdge is pretty close, but we have a 5% greater round trip efficiency versus the big companies like Tesla or even Enphase. The backup capacity of the inverter is a lot larger than our competition outside of Tesla. The battery capacity is more scalable, right? One of the things with Tesla, for an example, because I know them pretty well, is it's only 13.5 kilowatt hours. If a customer needs 17 kilowatt hours, you need 2 full batteries. That's essentially oversizing the battery, and it may increase their budget. You guys see what I'm saying in terms of sizing it true to what the customer needs, which is going to help their budget. It's going to help you probably close that system. Stackable and modular, the fire suppression, EV and generator control, the smart load control for true home backup coming from a company like Fortress, right? We're not using a third party for that. It is our product. We have that grid services VPPs. We talked about the benefits of that earlier in the slide deck, how we sell back to the CAISO wholesale market, where we can leverage other utility-wide programs and incentives throughout the United States. Check out our energy services on our website. And then it has resistance to that grid voltage fluctuation, AKA for my clients in Puerto Rico that are watching this. Still LFP. Still that safest chemistry with a 15-year warranty, 8,000 cycles. To put that in perspective, if you use 1 cycle a day, which is a full charge to depleted to back to full charge, that's around 21 years of life that you can expect. 6 years over the warranty that Fortress is providing. We made that change, like I said, after 30,000 installs. We felt pretty comfortable with doing a little bit of a longer warranty because of the quality of how we make our products. Started today. Let us help you build a more durable business, become an Avalon certified installer. We have a February exclusive right now. When you go into our training, fortresspower.com, you'll have the link here at the bottom if you want to check it out. Enroll in a course, complete the training by the end of this month, and when you place your next Avalon order by June 30th, you're going to get $500 discount off of your next order. That training, very comprehensive. It's going to include things like an unboxing video, installation, sales, designing, and everything in between. So let us help you build a more durable business. Let us be your partner from anything from your grid services to your backup clients, off-grid. We can help you out. All right, I will end the presentation here. Again, thank you everybody for joining the webinar today. Hope you guys found it helpful and informative. My name is Alex with Fortress Power. If you guys need anything from us, head over to our website, www.fortresspower.com, or you can send an email to sales@fortresspower.com with your questions, and we're certainly glad to help. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.